Good morning, afternoon, or evening. I am Stephanie Joy with All Things Social Security and the attorney at Joy Disability. You're about to see what should be a question and answer format type of chat from our live session on a particular topic that we find that a lot of people keep asking about. So I'm sharing it here. If there are pieces that could have been added that weren't added during the live, because it's a kind of a fast-paced Q&A that we do every Wednesday at 1 p.m. You might just find that I added something to the end of it to give it a little more clarity and a little more details for those that are interested in that particular topic. So check to see if that's at the end. Otherwise, enjoy the video. Bye-bye. Technology enhancements have increased program integrity, reduced improper payments, that's big and huge, and maximized operational efficiency for SSI claims processing. That's cool. So I guess that is supportive of the SSA staff if they have things efficiently being handled operationally. You know, if things figure out, I think reduce improper payments. You know, SSI, it's very easy to get an improper payment. You know, if you're working while on SSI, which is very commendable and cool, and you come out with more money in the end, it's still a pain in the butt though, because your SSI, you know, you have to report it. Nothing's going to be in real time. I think in the past, because I remember them averting to this several months back. In the past, God, by the time they figured out what your real income was for all those months, they've already before they figure it out, they've already overpaid you. That's a real pain because now you have an overpayment. And I think they were using things, maybe it was employer connections or something, to find out much faster, like within a couple weeks. You know, exactly what was made, so we know exactly what they should have gotten for that month, you know, because it's tweaked $50 here, whatever it is. And they make sure it's handled the very next month, so you don't grow this astronomical overpayment that's going to give you a heart attack, you know. So that is a really good thing. Reducing improper payments, making sure that they're kept in par. I mean, SSI can always be, it's going to be something that's always got to be checked like every month, because every month counts as, did you have money coming in? Did you not? And you know, guys, if you have a job you have a pretty steady paycheck, maybe not always exactly spot on, but fairly consistent. If you tell them, let's say you're making $500 a month, sometimes it's $490, sometimes it's $610. If you tell them, they should be able to say, all right, so going forward, we're going to deduct the $250 from your SSI so you don't get an overpayment, because that would be the deduction on, say, well, technically like $565, because the first $65 would be uncounted. So when you tell them that it's going to continue, this is the way it's supposed to be, then they just set the new bar. And then if your thing changes, you tell them again. And they'll set the new bar again, so that you're never doing this. You know, you're going to be getting, you know, 700 from SSA, not the 9 or 900 or 1,000 because of your work. If your work changes, you stop it, boom, you tell them right away, and they can adjust it. It's never going to be exactly in real time, but that way beats them waiting till tax time, you know, when they get the batch information from the IRS and then saying, oh, you've got a $12,000 overpayment. That is fatal heart attack worthy. Dolphin says, does using marijuana hurt your claim? That depends. It's all going to be specific to your facts. Is it medical marijuana? I don't even see really recreational marijuana hurting a case unless you're a total pothead and you are unable to work because you're stoned all the time. So I don't think it's the big thing it used to be. I just don't. If you have like lung issues, probably it would be more of a problem, because now you're perpetuating your own lung problems. You're making it worse. So possibly, but not as big of a deal as it used to be. That does not apply to other drugs, guys. So don't be doing that other stuff. Hey, Stephanie Joy, Joy Disability. Let's talk about overpayments. If you receive or have received an overpayment letter from the Social Security Administration, it's a time when your stomach falls down to your feet. I hear from people very frequently about this. I want this to be quick because there's too many details in everybody's specific case. The first thing is there an overpayment? Do you have any reason to believe there is? The letter might tell you, and hopefully it does, but sometimes they're very cryptic in general and almost canned, so they don't actually specifically speak to your situation. But if they do, that's a start. It could be that you were working part-time and you inadvertently forgot to stay under the limit. Things you got to know about. Working is good, but you got to be careful with that. There's a variety of things. And then if that's true, you can potentially not be liable for that, and it is not an overpayment if you have certain conditions with your working where certain expenses that you have for medical related things, certain ones can be deducted from your income and bring you under that SGA, the SGA amount that you were not really supposed to be going over. So that would go towards liability. Did I have an overpayment? Or do I just have to prove that I was not overpaid by producing these receipts? If you have subsidized work, in certain instances, there's something called impairment-related work expenses. Those would be medical bills that you had to pay, whether they were prescription or copays to specialists or for procedures needed for your condition that can be used to reduce your income. It can be deducted from your gross income each month. Generally, there are situations where it can be averaged to bring down that income you had, and you can prove that you were not SGA. That's a liability, right? That's kind of ideal. If you can't do that, if you determine that, oh my God, I really did blow it, I either hadn't, ignorance was no excuse for not following the law, and you're stuck with an overpayment, you're going to have to always read your letters really carefully. They're going to give you oftentimes deadlines of when you have to respond if you want this to stay open and not a shut case. So there's two things. There is a request for a waiver, and there is a request for a payment plan. And I don't know that they are mutually exclusive. I would think you'd want to do the waiver first. And if that fails, then a request for a payment plan. So look into both those options and the timing, and always read your letter in full to see if there's a deadline about appealing or requesting a waiver, anything like that. It might be where you can say, no, continue my payments until this appeal, I have appealed until that's resolved. You might only have 10 days, not the 60 days to appeal, or in some instances, I think I've heard about 30 days, and I don't know what specifically that involves, but always look at your deadline, your request to continue benefits while you appeal an overpayment, and that's because you don't believe in the liability. That's really short window. I mean, sometimes by the time you get the letter, it has already passed you. So this is a little bit unfair, but what I would say was, you get that letter, you see anything from SSA, you open it up in the car. If you're still in the car, just pull over and be safe. Read it, look if there's a deadline about your appealing and about being able to continue the current payments you're receiving on your ongoing claim while the appeal is pending, and they're determining if you really were overpaid now that you're appealing. That, I think, is a 10-day window most of the time. I would drive my tuchus down to the local Social Security office, and I would ask for that request to continue benefits in person. You might have to put it on a piece of paper. I would hand deliver that. I mean, unless you're going to overnight it for $50 from UPS or FedEx, I would get it there, because with mail being the way it is, you are not likely going to be having that letter telling you about the overpayment close in time to the date on the letter. And you can really easily reach your 10-day opportunity to continue benefits. Okay, so that's one thing. If you are not fighting liability, or you've already lost the liability fight, the appeal finished, you owe it, whatever, there's waiver and there is payment plans. Waiver is tougher. Generally speaking, it is my understanding that it will only be granted if there is no fault on your part and hardship. Hardship is not, I can't pay my B&W payment. It might be, I can't pay my rent. And assuming you're not, $6,000 a month on Fifth Ave, or maybe I'm probably underestimating the price. It's for basic shelter. They're not going to let that fly. When we have less income, we have to move. We do what we have to do. So when I talk about hardship, I'm talking about basic survival needs: food, water, basic shelter, not fancy shelter. And, if you have a spouse, it's going to be more difficult because they are obviously financially responsible. It's kind of like a commingled dual responsibility we have with our spouses, one of the obligations of marriage. So hardship may not work so well for more well-to-do individuals, or even middle to do individuals. It might be more for the lower income, someone on SSI, for instance, or a very low Social Security disability amount or retirement amount. But still worth noting, because it doesn't necessarily hurt to try. So don't necessarily make a presumption that you can't do it. Waiver, no fault, and that usually means bad fault, and hardship. The more likely scenario for many people is going to be a payment plan. It might also be possible, I should say, to settle a liability. If you have a big chunk of money, you can always try to negotiate a settlement of that liability. May or may not work, but then you'll be paying a big, a chunk of sorts in exchange for compromising it out. But aside from that, is the payment plan. It will often depend on what your income is. Again, your bills, your financial situation for survival, and what they think they can not unjustly have you pay outside of that. So they're generally going to want to know your financial condition. I see people have payment plans. They're not necessarily reduced in time that must be divided up amongst 2 years or 5 years. I've seen payment plans where if the person is really low income, it might be, now this is a few years back, but it was like $20 a month to pay back. And they're never going to pay it back. I mean, they'd have to live to like 140. But because their income was so low, and they would now be on the streets if they had to pay more, they were allowed to pay the $20 a month, which was just taken out of their current benefit. So they could still continue their benefit while paying back the overpayment. And, I hear some people say, well, why are they even making me pay? It's obviously never all going to be paid off. Well, that's not necessarily the decision, the end all be all. You're paying part of it back. Remember, you got what you weren't owed. So, you kind of have to maybe look with a little gratitude when you are given a very reasonable payment plan that you can handle, even if it means you're never going to pay it off. It's much better than, should they double it so you can pay it off? I mean, is that what you would prefer? So I would be happy to have a low payment plan on a undisputed overpayment. Now, disputing that you don't like the law that created the overpayment, the law that you violated that created the overpayment, that's not the kind of dispute I'm talking about. Again, we're going back to liability. It's where their facts are mistaken. You didn't make too much money because you have deductions that you can subtract from that to show them that. And I've seen this happen even if you didn't deduct them on a tax return. Let's say you were self-employed and they went off the 1099 reporting that, you filed your tax returns, you just did the 1099 amount, you never subtracted your cell phone, your home office, and all these other little things that really do add up. Those things can actually bring you over SGA. If you're only a few $100s over SGA every month or less, it really depends. And then you also have the impairment related work expenses that, some people have copays every month that may knock them down $50 a month. So for those that have teetered over the SGA amount, and that's where they have the overpayment, those deductions that one can take, and you need to read up on those, are really, really helpful. I've seen a 6-figure overpayment that was very old be able to be reversed because we found enough receipts. And we could argue that even for the receipts that we didn't find, say you were looking for cell phone receipts from 10 years ago. Well, we found one. And if the claimant, and it's reasonable to believe, and she certifies to the fact that this is reflective of my cell phone bills every month for those 5 years, the SSA may or may not embrace that at the lower levels, but an ALJ certainly can, because they're going with evidence and deducing what happened. So be ready to do that. I mean, ideally, you're doing that all along so you never find yourself in this jam. You always have your evidence behind you and saved. I mean, with digital saving of things now, have a couple different backups, click of a button, you've saved it. It can be worth, so much time, effort, and money later to have done that, okay? But again, liability fight, waiver, and payment plan. Those are your 3 options. So anyway, go to it. Hopefully you don't get an overpayment. I have some videos on how to not get an overpayment by staying on top of your business. And hopefully you'll get to see those too. All right. Have a great day. Bye.